love and respects. Today's subject is find your center deep within. Let's see the sutra, then we'll enter into the subject. Kumbhitare chitavapi puritava yada bhavet tadadante shantanamasau shaktya santa prakashate. Kumbhitare chitavapi puritava yata bhavet tadante shantanamasau shaktya shanta prakashate. When breath is all out and stopped of itself, or all in and stopped, in such universal pause, one's small self vanishes. Still we are working on breath. First 9 techniques, Shiva speaks only on breath. You will be shocked. Just on breath, 9 meditation techniques. Because he is taking us to deeper and deeper levels. He is trying to give us deep experience of our own being. Breathing is the thing which is continuously happening in you, in spite of you, whether you want or not. Be very clear, you are not breathing because of you. In spite of you, you are breathing. In spite of you, it's happening. That can be used as a beautiful method to take jump into cosmic energy or into yourself. Here, Krishna is taking us, Shiva, sorry. Anyhow, I can justify. On breath, Krishna and Shiva both are given many techniques. Even in the Dhyana Yoga, Krishna speaks elaborately, extensively on breath. Shiva is taking us step by step, deeply. Yesterday, in the last sutra, Shiva explained how to be unclutched. He speaks about how your incoming breath, outgoing breath, and the gap, neutral space, all of them are equal. He was talking, you are liberated based on the concept of time. Now he is taking us to a little deeper. He is showing us you are liberated based on space. He is taking us to the deeper level of space. In the last sutra, he explained you are liberated, you are already what you are supposed to be. You are already what you are supposed to be. Explaining step by step, taking us into the deep levels of our breath. Through the time he explained, today he is explaining through space. We will understand how he is explaining. When breath is all out and stopped of itself, or all in and stopped, in such universal pause, one's small self vanishes. This is difficult only for the impure. Here he is adding one more word. Beautiful word. This is difficult only for the impure. Yesterday, somebody asked me, after listening to that last sutra, one person came and asked me in the Energy Darshan, Swamiji, how to practice being unclutched? I said, God, you lost. You are not understood. There is no need to practice. All you need is to understand you are unclutched. And just remember again and again, the moment you wanted to practice, be very clear, you missed the truth. You don't have to practice the truth. Truth can never be practiced. You don't have to become unclutched. You are unclutched. Your being is unclutched. The moment you ask how to practice, be very clear, you are not understood. Whatever is spoken, you can just play with words. Playing with words, you can hide yourself from others, but by playing with words, you can't hide yourself from yourself. The moment you ask how to be unclutched, let it be very clear, you slept in the discourse. You slept in the discourse. You have not heard. You have not understood what has to be understood. At least now, don't miss. Kumbhita rechita vapi urita va yada bhavet tadante santanam asau satya santa prakashate. Now, Shiva is playing with beautiful poetic Sanskrit. He is using different words to take us into a deeper space. Let me explain with the diagram. The last sutra we understood. Incoming breath, outgoing breath. And this neutral space. In last sutra, Shiva was explaining this space, both of them are equal. The time for this and the time for this, both of them are same. The time taken for incoming and the gap between two breaths, both of them are equal. Now he says, not only in time, in space also you are one and the same. He goes to an extreme of saying, nothing is happening in you. You are already in pure conscious state. Whether the Kumbhaka is happening in you, or Rechaka is happening in you, or Puraka is happening in you, you are in a space where you are already unclutched. Whether you remember it or not, you are already in that state. Let me explain how Shiva is coming to this understanding, or Shiva is going to give us this understanding. How he comes to this conclusion, step by step, beautifully, and how he is going to transmit that understanding to us. People who have not attended last sutra should forgive me. I think you will find a lot of things new. but nothing can be done because it is an extension of last sutra. Next two sutras are also extensions. He is just taking us into a deeper and deeper layers, deeper and deeper levels. All right. When breath is all out and stopped itself, or all in and stopped, in such universal pause, one's small self vanishes. In the last sutra he said, when the incoming breath taking turn as an outgoing breath, your mind disappears. Your mind doesn't exist. Now he says the universe doesn't exist. Universal pause. In the last sutra he says mind, in this sutra he says universe. You need to understand an important thing. Your mind is universe. Universe is your mind. Even though Shiva doesn't give you any intellectual theories, concepts separately, he gives all the truth when he gives the techniques. It's an important thing you need to understand. The key or the essence of this sutra is mind and universe are one and the same. What you think as mind and what is universe, what you perceive as universe, both are one and the same. Please understand. Sometime, because of your pain or suffering, you may say, how can this universe be directly connected to my mind, Swamiji? That is independent and my mind is separate. Whether you understand or not, truth is truth. A small story, one rabbi, after his retirement from the service, he went to hotel, want to fulfill his lifelong fantasy of eating pork. Somehow he couldn't control himself. He went to the hotel, chose a corner, he sat in a corner, ordered for pork. He was waiting and fighting with his conscience. Not only was waiting and fighting with his conscience. As things will happen, one family from his congregation entered the hotel. According to Jews, nobody should eat alone. So naturally they straight came to the rabbi's table and sat in his table to share the food. In 5 minutes, waiter brought the big plate, opened the lid to reveal the roast suckling pig with a big full apple, baked apple in the mouth. They were shocked. And Rabbi also showed as if he shocked, and he started shouting, see, this place, you just order for a baked apple and what you get? You just order for a baked apple and what you get? You may use these words to escape from others, but you can't escape from yourself. And after it comes, you may think you are not ordered, or you may act you are not ordered, but nothing is served to you unless you order. Your mind and the universe, both are directly connected. What you enjoy, what you get from this universe is nothing but your mind. Shiva says in the last sutra, he says your mind stops. Now he says the universe stops. Your mind and the universe. In Vedanta, we have a beautiful word, Drishti Srishti and Srishti Drishti. Drishti Srishti and Srishti Drishti. Srishti Drishti means what is you see. That's what we all believe. We are seeing what is. But Drishti Srishti means you create what you want to see. You create what you want to see. It's a little deeper level truth, difficult to understand with our ordinary logic, but truth. Whenever the mind stops, universe stops. Ramana Maharshi explains this concept beautifully, this truth. Ramana Maharshi explains beautifully. Whenever your mind is not functioning, the world is not functioning. The world will not function. You can see in your life. When you are in the dream space, that looks as reality. When you are in this space, this looks as reality. When you are here, this looks as reality. When you are in dream space, that space looks as a reality. When you are in deep sleep, nothing is reality. Neither dream world nor this world. Let it be very clear, whenever you enter into the dream world, this whole Jagrat or waking state, this world is completely faded. It becomes black and white, and that becomes multicolor. As on now, your dream world, when you remember your dreams, you feel it is like a black and white, vague. In India, if you see the Doordarshan, how it will come. And this world looks like a multicolor, strong, clear, like private channels. This looks like a 4D experience, 4-dimension experience. If you go to the Universal Studio, that Shrek 2, they give you the 4D experience. Na? They rock the chair. 3D, you know, 4D is something like a, not only you have 3-dimensional view, along with the movements, the chair also moves. And especially that mummy, they give you that mummy experience. Literally everybody shouts. They give you that 4D experience. Same way, now you are having this world in a 4D form. You are having the 4D experience of this world. And in the dream state, whenever you experience the dream consciousness, you experience dream state as 4D and this becomes 2D. This completely faded. This fades away and that becomes reality. Let it be very clear. Then how can you decide or how can you choose which one is real or which one is unreal? You have no scale to choose whether this is real or that is unreal. You may put a question. No, Swamiji. Whenever we come back to this waking state, this world is same. I have same car, same house, same wife. It's not changing. But in the dream state, whenever I enter into the dream state, I have different car, different house and different wife, you see. Different wife. And dream state things are different. How can you say this and that are one and the same? You may ask. Please be very clear. The question may look logical, but it is not logical. You should understand one subtle truth. For example, sometimes you live 10 years of life in one night dream. Am I right? 10 years of life is lived in one night dream. In one night dream, you take birth, grow and finish your education, do so many things. It means in the 10 years, have you not slept? Inside the dream you fall asleep and come back to same dream and play the game, and fall asleep, come back to same dream and play the game. Understand, it's very subtle but truth. If you give your attention, you can understand the truth. The very understanding of this truth will totally transform your inner space. See, in the one night, in just one night dreams, you live one full life, sometime 10 years or 20 years, even 30 years. In that 30 years, you have many times fallen into unconsciousness, sleep. Then you come back to the same dream and play with the dream, again fall asleep, come back to the same dream, play into the dream, again fall asleep. Be very clear how you live 30 years in one night dream. Same way you are living your 70 years in a one life dream. Life is a longest dream. Dream is short form of life. Small life is dream. Long dream is life. Let it be very clear. The very concept of time itself is illusion. That is why in one night, 10 hours of, in 10 hours dreams, you live 30 years of life. 30 years of life is lived in one 10-hour dream, one night dream. How is it possible? Because the time concept itself is created by your mind. The concept of time itself is an illusion. It is completely illusion. That is why Ramana Maharshi says beautifully, whatever you see, as long as the seen, seer and the action seeing, if the three are there, be very clear, you are in illusion. Somebody asked me, Swamiji, if that is the case, how is seeing an enlightened master in dream state is going to help us? Because I am also one more dream for you now. And be very clear, really we can't be sure that you are sitting in temple and listening to the discourse. It can be dream. Suddenly you may wake up and understand you are lying in your bed and dreaming that you are sitting in a temple and listening to the discourse. You may think, no, I can pinch myself. You can pinch yourself in dream also. In dream also you can pinch yourself. Let it be very clear, there is no scale to measure whether you are in awareness or dream state. You can do whatever you are doing now, whatever you can do now, you can do everything in dream also. In dream also you can be sure that you are not dreaming. The big problem is the moment you suspect whether it is dream or reality, you will come out of the dream. You can always see, whenever you seriously suspect what you are seeing, your awareness and attention will be turned towards the seer. Now, as long as you don't suspect the reality of what you are seeing, your awareness will never be turned towards the seer. The moment you suspect the truth or the reality of the scene, the moment you suspect, immediately your awareness will be turned towards the seer. You will be awakened. All these techniques again and again turn your awareness into the seer. You are constantly now attracted by the scene. So much of colorful dance, so much is going on. In the outer world, you don't have awareness or attention to turn towards the seer. All these techniques, Shiva is trying to turn yourself towards the seer, to give you the glimpse of the seer. The moment you suspect the scene, the moment you suspect the scene, it is not as you think, the scene is not as you understand, immediately your awareness turns towards the seer. The moment you turn towards the seer, you are awakened. What happens in the dream state? Same thing. Whenever you come out of the dream state, be little aware what is happening in that space. First thing, either you will have too much of greed or fear. If you have greed or fear beyond a limit, both will awaken you out of dream. Sometimes nightmare, sometimes too beautiful dream. Nightmare and too beautiful dream, both will bring you out of dream. Both will kick you out of dream space. First thing, you will start suspecting whether it is dream or reality. Next moment, the whole attention will turn towards your inner space. Then you will be awakened. Same thing will happen in this space also if you want to get awakened. First thing, you need to see, you need to understand. By understanding, you will naturally have the doubt whether what I am seeing is truth or unreality. It is a truth or false. You will start suspecting what you are seeing. The moment seriously you start suspecting what you are seeing, your whole awareness and attention will turn towards the seer. Seer will be automatically awakened. As long as you are engaged with the second person and third person, the first person will never be awakened. Your interest towards the second person and third person is lost. Immediately your attention will turn towards the first person. You will be awakened to the truth. You will wake up from this big dream. I was telling you about the beautiful question. Somebody went and asked Ramana Maharshi also the same question. If everything is dream, seeing you in this dream, how is it going to help me? Ramana Maharshi says, when you see a lion in your dream, what happens? You wake up. That fear, or even if you see a beautiful actress, you will wake up. The greed. See, whenever you try to elongate that shaft, whenever you try your best to elongate that shaft, sometime beautiful dream, you try to hold on to the dream and suddenly you realize it is dream. Sometime frightening dream, you just wanted to escape from the dream. So much of fear and you realize it is just a dream. Both the way, whether if you want to hold or you want to escape, both the way, you will come out and understand it is just a dream. Whether it is greed or fear, both will awaken you. Whenever you see a master is like a Simha Swapna. It's like seeing a lion in the dream. When you see the lion in the dream, naturally, out of that shock, you will be awakened. You will be out of the dream. Same way, when you see the master in this state, he will be like a Simha Swapna. He will awaken you. I always tell people, master is not a dream to fulfill your wishes. It's a dream to awaken you. It's a dream to awaken you. Same way, greed also can awaken you. Master and actress both can do the same job. Both can do the same job. That is why I always tell people, whenever I can't train people, I just get them married. I tell them, please get married, that's all. And they are trained. Now sometimes, if master takes 10 years, she takes hardly 1 or 2 years. Now in our ashram, that's what I tell our brahmacharis. Either learn from me or you learn from your wife. But learning from me with a lot of love and courtesy. That's the only difference. Greed and fear both can teach you. Yoga choose the path of fear. It just controls you, controls you, controls you, controls you and corners you. At some point you are awakened, you understand, you are dreaming. Tantra chose the path of greed. It gives you, suddenly you understand, you are dreaming. Both the way, whether you are in greed or with fear. The theme or the idea is to put your attention on your being, to turn your awareness on your being. Whether it's a fear or greed, we need the only one thing, to awaken you. Kumbhita rechita vabi purita va yada bhavet tadante santana masau satya santa prakasate. Again, this one important thing you should understand, that your mind is universe. Only when your mind works, you see the universe. If your mind doesn't work, you will not see the universe. It's like your samskaras, your engrams that decide your universe. Shiva says, in such universal pause, when breath is all out and stopped of itself, or all in and stopped of itself, in such universal pause, Shiva is speaking in last 3 sutras about the neutral space. For last 3 sutras he is discussing the same thing about the neutral space. How to enter into the neutral space and how it will help you step by step. In the neutral space itself he is guiding us step by step. First he spoke about the neutral space. Next he said the neutral space and the incoming breath time is one and the same. Now he is saying the neutral space and the incoming breath, not only in time they are one and the same, even in space they are one and the same. By this he means, just in that neutral space, whenever you are in that neutral space, you are enlightened, you are liberated, you are in that full awareness, you are in that Shiva consciousness. There is nothing more needs to be done. There is nothing else needs to be done. The once small self vanishes. That's what he says beautifully. Once small self vanishes, means your ego disappears. Your ego disappears. He says, vanishes. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to kill. You don't have to fight. You don't have to do anything. Just it vanishes. He adds one more line, beautiful line. This is difficult only for the impure. Ashanta prakasate. This is difficult only for the impure. Now we'll have to understand what Shiva means by the word. This is difficult only for impure. What he means by the word impurity. This is difficult only for the people who think it is difficult. If you are already clear that this is not going to work for me, this is not going to help me, this is not which I want, what I want in my life, then be very clear, this is not going to help you. The moment somebody thinks, decides, this is difficult for me, it is going to be difficult, because it is you who is creating the shaft. If you think 10 times it is difficult, 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 the thought it is difficult which happened to you today, the thought it is difficult which happened to you yesterday, the thought which is difficult, it is difficult which happened to you 1 year ago, you will connect all these thoughts and you will create a shaft, it is difficult. Then nothing can be done. If you have the thought, it is easy. It is easy. Then again, you will create a shaft, it is easy. If you create a shaft, it is easy. It is going to be easy for you. If you create a shaft, it is difficult by all your ideas of believing it is difficult, then it is going to be difficult for you. Let you be very clear, whether it is easy or difficult, both shafts are created by you. Raman Maharshi says, there is a beautiful song written by Raman Maharshi in Tamil. He says, oh, so easy, Atma Vidya, so easy. Somebody goes to him and says, Bhagavan, it is very difficult to achieve enlightenment. Bhagavan says, oh, so easy to achieve Atma Vidya, it is so easy. They ask him, how? He says, to achieve something in the outer world, you have to work. To achieve something in the inner world, nothing needs to be done. Just relax. He goes on explaining. Anyhow, one thing, your mind says it is easy. Masters say it is, your mind says it is difficult. Masters say it is easy. According to me, it is neither easy nor difficult because already it is there. You don't even have to think it is difficult. You don't even have to think it is easy because it is already there. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be achieved. If you have to achieve only, you will have to say whether it is easy or difficult. Here, you are not going to achieve anything. It is just the existence. It is just the truth. It is there already. All you need to do is just remember, you are unclutched. You are already unclutched, as I was telling you yesterday. Even your thinking is nothing but connecting all the thoughts and thinking that you are thinking. Actually, your thinking is not a big problem for you. You are thinking that you are thinking is the real problem for you. See, your thinking is not a big problem for you. It just comes and goes. But when you start thinking, oh, I am constantly thinking, I am not able to stop thinking, that is where you start creating problem. When you start creating some shaft, see, all your problems, when I say all, capital letter A-L-L, all your problems are just because you create shaft. You create a shaft which does not exist. Which does not exist. If you just understand, you are unclutched by your very nature, you can see. Even if you try to clutch, you can't clutch. Try your best to connect your thoughts. Try to be on same subject. Try to concentrate your mind. You can't concentrate because God saves you constantly. God is protecting you. That is why you are not able to concentrate. People come and ask me, Swamiji, how to concentrate my mind? They don't understand what they are asking. Be very clear. The more you concentrate your mind, more you will start suffering. As on now, concentration will bring you only suffering because your mind. When you concentrate, naturally on what you will concentrate? Whatever is there only you will concentrate. In your mind you have only sufferings. If you start creating the concentration power, your suffering will become more and more. People come and ask me, Swamiji, I forget things. Please give me the power to remember. I tell them, you don't know what big blessing it is. No, because you forget things, you soon get healed of your mental pains, mental wounds. You heal yourself. If you can't forget things, be very clear. You will be constantly suffering. Because all you know is only one thing, suffering. You do not know how to be in bliss. You do not know how to be in joy. You do not know how to connect the gaps and create the shaft of gap. All you know is how to connect thoughts and create the shafts of thought. Any thought will create only suffering for you. as on now, you not having concentration is a big blessing for you. According to Tantra, one of the great work of Shiva is Trodana. They say Trodana means making you forget things or making you move away from the past. If you start trying to have more concentration power, be very clear, you will bring more and more misery and suffering for you. That is why the people who try to do this hypnotism, mesmerism, these yogic practices to concentrate their mind, you can see always they will be in tension. They will always be in tension. Attention means you are at tension. Attention means attention. When you start giving your attention, be very clear, you are at tension. Always they will be serious. You can see constantly they will have a headache. No, really, they will have a headache. Because constantly they are trying to think on one subject. Means they are trying to create a shaft. They are trying their best to create a shaft. One more thing, no doubt they will become schizophrenics. That is why I tell you, some of the yogic practices, without intelligence if you start doing, without maturity if you start doing, you will end up only in more problems. You will end up only creating more and more difficulties, more and more problems. Because in concentration, you exclude everything. In awareness, you include everything. In awareness, you are not aware of particular thing. You are purely aware. In front of you, anything can come. You will be aware. That's all. In awareness, you work on yourself. In concentration, you work on something outside. You concentrate on something. Your whole consciousness is centered on something. In concentration, you are working towards a different angle. In awareness, you are working towards different angle. Whole West is suffering so much of depression because they misunderstood awareness as concentration. They started thinking concentration is going to help. No. Concentration is no way going to help you. Concentration will bring you more and more suffering. You will create more and more shaft. You will create too many shafts and you will start fighting with those shafts. All concentration is excluding something. For example, if you concentrate on this one line, you exclude everything else. In that one line, if you concentrate on one dot, again you exclude everything else. You are excluding. By excluding, you will not be able to achieve anything. But with awareness, you will be aware of the whole board. You will be aware of this whole scene. You will be aware of this whole space. You are aware of this whole universe. In awareness, you do not exclude anything. You only start including things. In concentration, you will be excluding things. When you start creating shaft, when you start thinking that you are thinking, be very clear, you become impure. Then it is difficult for you. Then you can't achieve this. Even you believing that you have a lot of impurity is nothing but a shaft. Let it be very clear, all your guilt, all your pain, everything is pure shaft. The mistake which you did 10 years ago, the mistake which you did 7 years ago, the mistake which you did 3 years ago, they are independent, unconnected incidents. But when you connect them and start thinking, naturally you will start creating guilt. Let you be very clear, you cannot be helped by creating guilt. Is there any single person who says, no, I changed myself, Swamiji, by creating guilt? Never. might have stopped expressing that attitude, you might have stopped doing that act, but never think you are liberated from it. Never think you are liberated from it. Symptoms may change, but you are not cured. Doctor asks to a patient, how do you feel after the medicine? You came to me with a complaint that you are hearing ringing sound in your ears. How do you feel now with your ringing sound? Patient says, oh, after the medicine, I get only engaged tone. I get only the busy signal. I am not getting the ring tone. The ring tone may change into busy signal, but you will not be healed. Let you be very clear. By creating guilt, you may just change the symptom, but not the healing itself will happen. Changing symptom is not liberation. Changing symptoms is not going to help you. Let you be clear about what you are supposed to do. Inner space needs to be completely awakened. You need to bring your awareness to your inner space. You need to be completely aware of your inner space, whatever is happening in it. Let it be clear, even your thoughts, this is difficult or you are impure, is nothing but shaft. One more thing, even if you practice some purity or some discipline for 10-20 years, you will not feel you achieved it. At least I have not seen anybody who has got the confidence that they have become pure. I have seen hundreds and thousands of swamis, hundreds and thousands of spiritual seekers, and hundreds and thousands of yogis and sadhakas. Nobody feels in their inner space that they have become pure. They can't feel because constantly they will be creating the shaft of what they have done. What they have done. Let it be very clear, your inner space, inner thoughts are no way logically connected to the outer world. That's an important thing. Just now I said, you see the universe as you want. Now I give you another one statement. Let you understand these two statements which appears contradictory, but Shiva is answering. How they are not contradictory. They are complementing each other. First I told you, you create the world which you want to see. Now I am telling you, you are. Your inner space is no way connected to the outer world. When I made that first statement, I meant you project this world and see. That's the truth. When I make this second statement, your inner consciousness is not disturbed or affected by the outer world as you think. You think if something goes wrong in the outer world, you will feel the suffering. You will have the suffering. Or something happens in the outer world, nice thing, you will have that joy. But it doesn't happen always logically. Sometimes even if you have something nice outside, outer world, you don't feel the excitement, joy in the inner world. Sometimes strange you can feel when something seriously wrong, when something goes wrong. Suddenly you see a confidence, you stand up and you show your strength. Mentally you may be thinking, oh, if that happens, I will be completely collapsed. I cannot do anything. But when it happens, suddenly you will see you are able to handle it. You are able to manage it. You are able to live through it. Be very clear. Two things you need to understand. Your thoughts or your response is no way connected to the happenings of the outer world. Second thing, your thoughts itself, they are not directly, logically connected with each other. Your response to the outer world and your response to the inner world, both are illogical, independent and unclutched. Your thoughts towards the outer world, towards the inner world, your own self, both are not logical or connected as you think. You are made to believe you have a logical identity. It is only a belief. Your logic, as long as you believe your logical identity, let you be very clear, you will be constantly bringing more and more and more suffering. You will not have the spontaneity. I have always seen people who are not logical, who are not educated, they will be more spontaneous. I have seen they will be so alive and spontaneous. Whenever I utter the word spontaneity, I remember a beautiful story, beautiful incident which happened in my young age. Maybe I think I told this incident in some other lecture, but I'll tell this once more, at least for the newcomers. In my young age, in our village, they used to recite the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is the history of India. It is the history of India. In every village there will be recitation of Mahabharata every year. Once in a year in every village, especially in South India, they will recite the Mahabharata. Daytime they will recite the story. Night time they will do a drama. Drama means not a professional group. Same that 4 or 5 old villages, old people, they will decorate themselves and come into the, there will be small 2 bench. On that bench they will climb, that is the stage. They will sing some song and do the drama. Thanks to this type of programs, because of these programs, still India is alive. Morally and culturally, the whole country is connected because of this type of programs. It is done in a very ritualistic way. Morning they will recite the story and evening they will do the drama. Drama will be very nice, very spontaneous. There will not be much arrangement. Only one stick will be there. That is what, that will be used as Veena when Narada uses. If he holds like this, it will be Veena. If Hanuman holds like this, that is Gada. That is the Gada. Same thing, one stick. On the top of the stick, one paint box will be tied, that's all. One stick with the paint box, that is the Veena, and then that is Gada. You have to just understand. Who holds it, in what way he holds, that is the name you have to give. If it is held in this way, it is called Veena. If it is held in this way, it is Gada. It's a nice village program. That day, the story is the Draupadi Vastrabharana. There is a, if you know the Mahabharata, you will understand. Draupadi was abused in the court by the Duryodhanas. Duryodhana and his brothers. That is the story. According to the story, the Draupadi, of course, male only will decorate themselves as female. No female are allowed to act in the dramas. Only male have to act the female role also. The Draupadi is supposed to wear 7 saris. She will come with the 7th sari. And the person who is supposed to remove the clothes, he will be pulling the sari. He will, after the 6th sari, he will say, "Oh, I am tired," and he will fall. That is the story. And Krishna will appear. By the time the 6th sari has come, the Draupadi has to shout Krishna, Krishna. Till then she will be shouting different names, Gopala, Govinda, Madhusudana, Madhava. When it comes to the 6th sari, she will shout Krishna. Then Krishna will appear behind the stage. Behind the stage he will jump into the stage. There will be a small screen. Behind the stage the Krishna will be standing. He will jump into the stage and come. "Oh Draupadi, I have come to protect you. I have come to save you." By the time Krishna comes, the Duryodhana has to say, "Oh, I am tired. Oh, I am tired," and he has to fall. This is the story. This is the story supposed to happen. And Draupadi came as usual with the 7 saris, and this Duryodhana started pulling. One small mistake, this Duryodhana forgot the count. He forgot the count. He suddenly forgot which sari he is pulling, whether it is 6 or 5 or 7. Because he forgot the count, he started pulling the 7th sari also. Now it is dangerous. Only 6 he is supposed to pull, and by 6, according to the story, the 6th sari when he pulls, the Draupadi has to shout Krishna, and Krishna will jump into the stage, and Duryodhana will fall. Because this guy forgot the number, he started pulling the 7th sari also. And Draupadi got so disturbed, she straight away started kicking Duryodhana. Hey, leave me, hey, leave me. Instead of shouting Krishna, she started kicking Duryodhana. And we all thought, what is going on with the story? Draupadi is not supposed to fight with Duryodhana. She is not supposed to fight, she is supposed to shout Krishna, Krishna. She lost all the temper and started thinking, hey, leave me, hey, leave me. And this guy, he did not understand what Draupadi means. And he thought she is really acting. And he is again pulling. And he, without leaving, he is just pulling the sari. And somehow they both started fighting with each other. And in that fight, anyhow, finally, nothing could be done. The Duryodhana pulled the 7th sari. And this Draupadi is standing on the stage, above all female makeup, below with a trouser. With the trouser he is standing. The face is full of turmeric and flower. Above the hip, complete female decoration, with all the jacket and female dress. And below he is standing with the trouser. And the Krishna is behind the screen, he is just smoking bidi. And he is thinking, what is happening, still I am not called. And he is enjoying his bidi. And he is just peeping through the screen, still I am not being called, what happened? Because she has to shout Krishna, only then he will come. Till the 6th sari, Draupadi has to say, Madhava, Madhusudana, Govinda, Gopala. Only on the 6th sari she will shout Krishna, then Krishna will appear. And he is standing with the bidi and waiting. This guy is so spontaneous, he said, Krishna, because you are busy with your bidi, you converted me into male and saved my prestige. The whole scene took a different turn. See, actually, this spontaneity can happen only if you are not intellectual. If you are intellectual, you can't be spontaneous. What you will be doing? At the most, you will be taking one more sari and hiding. But what can be done? Already everything is open. Already things are open now. Nothing can be done. Of course, this spontaneity will be alive and active in you when you are not programmed intellectually. When you know you are unclutched. Even once you experience you are unclutched, this spontaneity will be so alive and active in you, no cloud can cover your inner space. You cannot be disturbed, you cannot be depressed, you will not be perturbed by your vasanas. That is what in Zen there is a beautiful saying, birds don't leave footprint on the air, in the sky. Birds don't leave their footprints on the sky. If you work with that clarity or the remembrance of you are unclutched, your activities will not leave their footprints, samskaras in your inner space. No activity will leave the samskara or the engram in your inner space. Nothing will touch your inner space. There's a beautiful story of Janaka Maharaja. Janaka is a great enlightened master who was king and enlightened master, both. Sugabrahma is another one enlightened master, the first Paramahamsa on the planet Earth. Sugabrahma was sent to Janaka Maharshi by Vyasa. Vyasa is the father of Sugabrahma. Vyasa says, go to Janaka and learn the ultimate truth from Janaka. The Sugabrahma goes to Janaka's court. That time Sugabrahma was not enlightened. He goes to Janaka's court and he sees Janaka is just sitting in the throne and enjoying. Sugabrahma never thought Janaka is a king, and he never thought that he will be sitting in throne. When my father said, go and learn from Janaka, I thought he is a great rishi. Even if he is in the court, I thought he is a Raja Guru. But now I understand he is Raja himself. What will I learn from kings? And in those days, kings are not respected in Indian tradition. Only the spiritual people are respected. They command the whole respect. Somehow, these rishis have created such a wonderful system that Vedic lifestyle, the person who doesn't own anything, who doesn't have anything, he is respected more than a king. Neither Vaishya, who has got money, nor Kshatriya, who has got power, is respected. Only Brahmana, who has got the intelligence, spiritual wisdom, he is respected. Only the rishis are respected. He thought, what will I learn from this king? After all, he is a king. He won't have anything to teach. Anyhow, my father said, he goes to the Janaka and he asks Janaka, what will you teach me? Janaka says, stay here for 3 days. Whenever people come to me and they ask me, Swamiji, give us a glimpse of meditation. Please teach us how to live in the bliss. I tell them, no, to tell you honestly, I can't teach you, but you can pick up. I can't teach you, you can learn. I always tell them, just be around me 24 hours for a few days. I cannot teach you by my verbal language. With words, you cannot give anything. Maybe you can pick up from my body language. Just see how I live. Just feel how I am living. That may give you some glimpse. That may give you the confidence. Be very clear. Words are not going to teach you. And here also the words which I am uttering, they are not great. And I am not an orator. And I am not giving you any words. And my English I know, oh God. I have my own way of expressing. Anyhow, I don't bother about it also because I am not here to teach you English class. I am not an English teacher. I am only teaching the spirituality. Somebody asked me, what is this, Swamiji? You should correct your English little bit. I said, I am not teaching English. I am teaching spirituality. Do you understand what I want to express? He said, yes, I understand. That's all. That much only we need language. Language is necessary to convey. That's all. That's enough. Nothing else is necessary. We don't have to bother about anything else. Anyhow, I am not giving you words. Words can't do anything. Words can't do anything. The words which I am speaking are not important. The confidence which is radiating in my eyes, the honesty which is in my body language when I utter this truth, that is the reality. I always tell people, if you can pick up this honesty and confidence, you achieved. If you pick up these words, nothing, you won't be helped. You are not going to be helped. But if you pick up this honesty and confidence, then you have done what you are supposed to do. You achieved what you are supposed to achieve. I always tell people, stay around me, be around me. Watch. Just be a spy. See how I am living 24 hours. See, you can't hide something from somebody 24 hours. You can't act 24 hours. It is impossible. You can act 2-3 hours in the stage. Stage show is very easy. Anybody can get into the stage and do 2-3 hours of show. That's not a big thing. That's not a big thing. But you can't be same 24 hours. Be around me 24 hours. That may give you something. Same thing Janaka is telling. Be around me 24 hours. That may give you something like a swimming. See, nobody can teach you swimming. You can pick up swimming when you see somebody swimming. Nobody can teach you. Nobody can teach you. When you see somebody swimming, 3 things you will understand. First thing, swimming is possible. You can float on the water. Next thing, tremendous urge or desire. When they can do, why not me? Why can't I? I can also. Third thing, the courage to jump in. First, you will understand man can float. Next thing, when they can, why not me? Third thing, let me also jump, the courage. Same way, when you live an enlightened being living on the planet Earth, when you see the enlightened being living on the planet Earth, when you live around him, 3 things you will understand. First thing, enlightenment is possible. You can live like a god on the planet Earth. Next thing, when he can, why not me? Because he will radiate such a simplicity and he will radiate such an ordinariness. Naturally you will have the confidence. When he can, why not me? Third thing, an important thing, let me jump, the courage. All these 3 will happen only if you live around the master, seeing the body language. Nothing else can help you. I always tell people, swimming can never be taught. You can pick it. You can pick up. It can't be taught. Same way, Janaka is saying, live around me. Stay here. Sukabrahma stays there for 3 days. He is not able to understand. Sukabrahma is not able to relate with what is going on there. Janaka is sitting nicely, enjoying his sukha. Singing is going on, dancing is going on. Whatever goes on usually in the court, everything is going on. And he is just enjoying the whole thing. Janaka is enjoying. Sukabrahma is not able to relate with the whole scene. And he is not able to understand what is there to learn. After 3 days, again Sukabrahma goes to the Janaka. You want to teach me anything? Then Janaka says, see how I am living and try to learn. Sukabrahma said, I am not able to learn anything. I don't understand anything. I am seeing only one thing, you are living happily with the whole kingdom. I don't think I can learn anything from this. Then Janaka says, Janaka gives a pot filled with oil and he says, please carry this pot and go around this palace 7 times. Even a drop oil should not spill out. That's a condition. Sukabrahma goes round, comes back successfully. Janaka asks him, you went round 7 times this palace. That moment, did you see anything? This dance or singing or anything? Suddenly Sukabrahma realized, not only he was not aware, he did not even remember all these things. All these things are going on. Everything was in front of his eyes. It is not that he was away, he was not in the forest. He was not in the Gurukula. He was in the palace. But nothing has created any engram or samskara in his inner space. Then Janaka says, how these few moments, even though you are here, nothing has created engrams in you, samskaras in you. Same way, even though I am here 24 hours, Nothing creates engrams in me. No samskaras are created. My inner space is not at all touched by these outer happenings. Nothing of this world touches my inner space. I am pure in my inner space. Understand the meaning of purity. Purity does not mean you will be sitting in Himalayas, somewhere, escaped, hiding yourself, not ready to face the world. No. Purity does not mean you will escape somewhere. Purity means you will have such a beautiful inner space. The outer world things will not be able to penetrate you. Outer world things will not be able to fill you. Outer world things will not be able to enter into you. Outer world things will not touch you. Your inner space will be beyond any conditionings or any samskaras related to the outer world. All you need to do to understand and remember, you are unclutched. How remembering that you are unclutched is going to take you beyond the body and mind? How it is going to take you beyond space? Yesterday's technique, Shiva taught you how to go beyond time. Now he is teaching you how to go beyond space. After a small break, we will see the technique and practice it, how to go beyond the space. Thank you.